Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Live or die. Make your choice.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
I'm not even gonna swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know. And they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
They're here.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
This Halloween, 6 strangers have been invited to a party. If they can stay up till dawn, they'll win $1 million each. The only catch is that they'll have to live through the night.
Let the games begin.
House on Haunted Hill. Rated R. Starts Friday, October 29th at a theater near you.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host, Gaius and Jackson. Jackson's not here. I can't change the intro. I feel everyone's like, why do you keep doing the same intro even though he's not there? Because he's still there. He's still here in spirit, and I don't want to make it seem like he's not part of the show. I'm actually recording with him later today for our 200th episode. So we actually have done. It'll be 3 in a row. Like we did an episode for Creep last week and The Hitchers because he wanted to be involved in Tales of Horror. So we did those together, and we're doing our 200th episode today. But in its place, we got Mark from the Release Date Rewind podcast joining us for 2 of these today. So thank you for giving.
Oh my gosh, thank you,
time.
Gaius. A double feature, like from our youth, and I'm so excited. I mean, these movies are scary and they're fun, and yeah, I'm very happy to be here. But you know, I feel like the last time I was here, Jackson wasn't here. I feel like before that, like when's the last time I saw Jackson? I feel like definitely 10 Things I Hate About You, but I guess
think
that was the
might
last
have been
one.
it.
That was probably that was back in like March, April. So
Yeah, because she didn't do Cruel Intentions with us, right? That was
no.
Yeah. So I guess that would have been it.
Wow.
Well, he's
The
almost
Ghost of
done.
Jackson. Okay.
Yeah, he's almost finished. He's bummed out. He sent me a very nice message. He's like out of town with his family, and his mom and dad were talking about the podcast, and they were saying how like happy they are for us in the show, and like that they're happy that he's happy on it.
I was just saying to you offline, but I'll just say it here now that we're recording. I cannot believe you're about to hit 200 episodes. That's wild. You are a podcasting machine. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I probably bit off more than I can chew a little bit. But
I was gonna say, like, because you're busy with like various work, like you've got like different things going on, and then this is not like, you know, just like an easy little like let's just like talk. You know, you gotta research and. But I forget, you guys don't edit your episodes. Someone else does.
So
that
helps a lot.
Yeah,
Playlist
that's the worst part. Playlist does that. Oh my god, love that.
I actually did with I had Paul on again from the review podcast. We had just did the guests together a week or 2 ago for our as a deep dive, and he was a great guest. And actually, so funny, he David, who was on your show before, I went to middle school with, and
that's so funny.
David's really good at like recommending. Like he'll be like, I put up a thing for the guests. I was like, I missed the anniversary by a couple of weeks, but I really want to deep dive it. Who wants to do it? And then David was just like, hey, I have a buddy that loves that movie, and then he just sent him my info without even asking me. Like, I just know like your taste and his taste. I think it'll work. And like we did that episode together, and I was like, I think I have a new friend.
Nice. I love that.
And then we did Wes Craven's New Nightmare together today, so that was a lot of fun.
I love that sequel so much. My God, iconic.
It was good. We were talking about like it got a little deeper than I thought it was gonna get because
Ooh.
that movie's all about like the whole like the things that we create, like how can they become more powerful than we intended them to be, and like
Yeah.
all the other stuff, and because like our discussion on the other movie was more like funny, and this
Yeah.
one was funny too, but I was like we were just really. I don't know if it's as deep as people might want you to get on Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but I think
I mean, I'm
Wes
excited to
Craven's
hear
trying to say.
that.
I think Wes Craven's trying to say a lot with that movie,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
so
totally.
it was really fun to do. And like I said, Tales of Horror has been great. I haven't told anyone no yet. I think that's why I've said bit off more than I can chew. Because
Ooh.
last year there was like the people that did it. It was cool that they did it, but I was able to fill out the September, October pretty well with a mix of like guests and then just episodes with me and Jackson. This year more people said yes to it than I thought
Oh, okay.
they would, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna honor each and every one of them.
I know,
And
right? Once they say yes, once you get a guest on the calendar, it's like, oh God, okay. Like sometimes I'm like, yay, and then I'm like, oh shit. Now I actually have to like
yeah, and then
do
sometimes
this
I'm
one
like
and
low key happy when they
right,
have to like reschedule, like, oh yeah, that other day will be so good. Like try to make
right.
it seem like I was like, I was totally ready. Like, no,
I know.
sometimes
Oh,
I'm
I
not,
know.
and like, yeah,
The
it's
life of an indie podcaster, right? It's like
yeah,
it's fun, but we're like, oh man, now I have to quick watch that. Like watching movies now is work and you're trying to squeeze it in and
yeah.
it's always fun, but it's now
So
like
and now
so
it's like double work for me because I have to write stuff up. I write for a website and I have to write and
yeah.
watch movies or write about movies, and then I'm doing it for this. And it definitely doesn't take the joy out of watching things, but there are times where
Right.
it's like, oh, I gotta watch this now, and like
Right. You're
and
like,
make sure I have the time to watch it all, like,
I could
and
just
not
picture
just like
you. I could just picture you
it's
gay as like looking out the window being like, I just want to go outside, but I'm stuck
yeah,
inside with
yeah.
all these movies, which is great. But
It's just like
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, sometimes like if it's a movie I've seen a lot, like we talked offline about just skimming through one of them or like just
Right.
having it on in the background, like I can do that if I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
But with other things I haven't seen in a while, like I have to pay attention because I don't want to
Right.
miss anything.
Yeah.
That happened with one of the ones we're talking about today. I hadn't watched it forever, so I had to pay attention to that one. And the second one
Yeah.
I've seen a lot, so that was more of like I can work and turn around and
Yep.
work and turn around and just
Yep.
listen. I think. So how these two episodes came about today. The first movie we're going to be talking about is House on Haunted Hill from 1999. One because it's Tales of Horror, and also because it turns 25 in
Yeah.
October, late October. So when me and Mark were talking about doing it, I sent him the list of movies, and he was first he was already down to like the other movie we were going to talk about is Saw, and he was down to do that. And I was like, well, let me send you the
Yeah.
list and see if there's anything else. And then he was just like, oh, like I would be down to do Saw because it's 20th anniversary, and I would do House on
Right.
Haunted Hill, and I was like, those both would be good. And then I was like, how do we pick? And you're like, all right, let's leave it up to like the listeners to
Yeah.
pick. And I forgot the order, but I think on Back to the Blockbuster, Saw won by one vote, and I think when I put
Oh,
it on
okay.
G Reels, House on Haunted Hill won by one vote.
That's
And
so
then
funny.
you said that when you put something up on yours, it was kind of split. So I was like, well, it's close
Yep.
enough. Like, would you want to do both of them? And you're like, all right, let me see if I have the time to like carve out some
Yeah.
moments in my day. And thankfully you were able to. So
Yeah.
now we don't have to disappoint. We can give you both of them.
Oh my God, yeah, and this is just meant to be because also, and I told you that both movies came out on the same day, just 5 years apart,
All
October
right, yeah.
29th, which is so late,
Yeah.
because
It's only
now we
one
just
weekend of
live in a
spooky
world
season.
where like usually by like mid-October, all the good scary stuff is out because then you need
I feel like
time
they're
to
trying to
actually
take
watch
advantage.
it,
They're trying to take
right?
advantage of like the couple of weeks before Halloween, which is
Right.
smart. Releasing it 2 days before Halloween is like, I mean, House on Haunted Hill opened at number one. It was
Yep.
financially successful. I guess it was in the long run more financially successful than The Haunting was. I mean, The Haunting was more expensive.
Probably. It's so funny
Um,
that we got those 2 in the same year in 1999, those remakes,
yeah,
and they're bringing the, like, late '50s, early '60s in full color, modern, but
yeah.
House on Haunted Hill is better, you
Yeah,
know?
so here's the deal. I mean, I saw this in theaters. Actually, saw both in theaters, and I remember
Yeah,
being very disappointed by The Haunting because
yeah,
on paper that should have been good. You have like a
yeah,
really good like prestige cast almost.
right,
You have DreamWorks, which is Steven Spielberg's affiliated with that. You have a pretty
right.
good director in John DeBont who did like
Yes,
Speed and
Twister,
Twister and
yeah,
bigger budget, more. I mean, and then I don't know if you remember the first teaser trailer for The Haunting, but very good teaser
mm,
trailer when it came out.
wow, I don't know if I
Uh,
remember that. Oh, I gotta look it
yeah,
up now.
I was like, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then it just got laughably bad. I
Mm.
do own
I've
it.
been wanting to
So
rewatch it. Oh,
I
you
so
own it,
you
did you
know,
say?
yeah. Sometimes I haven't watched it lately, but I used to like sometimes I want to. It's fun to watch bad movies with your friends,
Oh, totally.
and,
Yeah, and I
and
mean,
that's one of them.
even like not as good movies from back then, it's still sort of like a nice way to just kind of turn your brain off and like sort of just get a little nostalgic, you know. But I have been wanting to rewatch it because it's been years since seeing the Haunting remake. But yeah, it's so fun and atmospheric, and then it just got so I just did not care
Laughably
at
bad.
all, and the CGI really took over, and that's when I'm like, "Oh, okay. Jan de Bont is a great director, but he likes CGI and action. We need someone
Yeah,
who knows ghosts and haunted houses and scares, you know, because
yeah,
it's pretty weak." Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and then the Wastes are pretty good
Yeah.
ensemble cast too, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Mhm.
But this one comes out a few months later.
Yeah.
Also has a fun ensemble cast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really.
the fact that Jeffrey Rush was in this still amazes me. I mean,
Oh my god, right?
yeah, like everyone else in the movie, I'm like, yeah, they would do it. But
Yeah.
like, but Jeffrey Rush is
Agreed.
like kind of the surprise. But
Yeah,
all I
and
can
he's
remember
great.
was, both of these movies got bad reviews. The Haunting did, and so did House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
But I was like, at least House on Haunted Hill knew what it was and
Yeah.
wasn't trying to be like I am sure when they made The Haunting, they were trying to make that more
Yes.
like bigger and more important than it was. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
we're not making a horror movie, we're making a film, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah, and
uh,
you could tell, like, it was such a budget and, like you said, some prestige, like, they wanted it to really be like a summer horror, like, mix of prestige and money and all that, and it just that's all they cared about, whereas House on Haunted
yeah,
Hill, yeah, it might not be the best, I think it's great, it's actually one of my faves, it is actually I kind of forget about it because it's sort of falls a little lower than some classics, but I think it's an awesome Halloween watch. The set design, the
yeah.
the costumes, the colors, it
Soundtrack is
is
a banger too.
oh, the soundtrack. It is just all
That
around spooky and fun, and it's like, let's just embrace the freaky what does Famke Jensen say? Funky old house, ain't it? Like, let's just embrace
yeah,
the funky, right?
yeah, and that's what it does, and I think that's why it works better than The Haunting did because it's not trying to be something that it's not.
Right.
Um, and I kind of forgot this was the start of the whole like Dark Castle Entertainment like
Yeah.
remake or like with the movies and
Which
all
which
that.
I had fun with. I liked this
Yeah,
era of those
they gave us
remakes.
like 13 Ghosts and Ghost
Yep.
Ship. Like we had some fun ones.
And I think did they even
I think always
do
always released around the same time, right? Like it feels like they
yeah, they
were
were, like, back to
they were like
back. It
Blumhouse,
really felt like
like
it.
how Blumhouse is like today. They feel like they were doing that back
Exactly,
then.
and I think they even gave us the House of Wax remake, if I remember
They
correctly. I
did
think Dark
actually,
Castle
yeah.
yeah, because that
That was
was
like the
the
one.
original was also, of like, it was kind of a cool time from, let's say, like, this time, like, 1999, maybe 98 to, like, House of Wax was, like, 2005 because
Yeah,
all of the originals were kinda back to back decades prior. So it was fun to
yeah,
kinda now have a reboot kind of era of, like, those
yeah.
Vincent Price, like, films, you know? Totally.
Yeah, definitely. House of Wax is on our list. I know no one's gonna pick it.
Oh,
But
I
I can say
love it.
I can save it. It has an anniversary next year, I believe. I think.
Uh-huh, yes, it will. I might talk
I'll
about it on my show. If I don't
totally
talk
will
about it
do
on
it
mine,
eventually
I
because
mean, yeah, I
love that remake.
I love it. Love it.
Uh,
Love it.
but this is a fun remake too, and I really love this ensemble cast as well. We got Jeffrey
Oh my
Rush,
god, yes.
Tom K. Jensen, Tay Diggs, Ali Lauder, Bridget Wilson, Peter Gallagher, and Chris Kattan.
Randomly.
We even get some like James Marsters in the early and Lisa
Yes,
Loeb. I think.
Spike and Lisa Loeb. My jaw when I remember specifically seeing this in theaters, it must have been opening night or that Saturday. It must have been, like you said, right before Halloween. I was with my
Yeah,
dad, and in the beginning, seeing Spike from Buffy, but with blonde hair, but not as blonde as we were
yeah,
used to it
yeah.
on TV. So I'm like, wait, Spike? And then I'm like, wait, Lisa Loeb? Like, I still to this day, I'm like, why is Lisa Loeb
Why?
in this?
I
I
know.
love it. She's great. She fits right in, but like, what? And like
Yeah.
Spike, I love the opening. I love that roller coaster stuff. I think what I like so much about this remake, and you're right, Gaze. I was just looking at I'm more of a Metacritic guy than a Rotten Tomatoes guy. Plus, I'm always on the IMDb app on my phone, and they have like
Yeah.
a tie-in with Metascore. But you're right, the Haunting remake has a higher Metascore than House on Haunted Hill. What is up with that? Because
Yeah.
what I love about this remake is it takes everything from the original pretty much, and I just rewatched the original this weekend in anticipation for this. It's short, it was on in the background, it's so fun and
Yeah.
hokey, but it takes pretty much all the key highlights, and just like a great remake should, it brings it to 1999. It ups the ante, it adds backstory, it adds more things. I think every remake should do that. Like,
Yep.
yeah, rather than
I
just
agree.
like regurgitate the same stuff.
Fucking rehash it
Let's
over and over again.
Right? Let's add in like these weird, absolutely scary, bizarre like imagery and the roller coasters and all that stuff. So that's me.
Uh, Yep, I agree. And for those that don't know, this was directed by William Malone. I looked up other things that he had done. He did Fear.com, which is not good.
Which is
That
not
is,
good, but it's
that's
so
not
funny
good.
how that had some of the same like visuals as this. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I think I only saw part of the fear.com. I remember the trailers looked good, but once those reviews came out, and then it's so funny because then the ring came out like the year after that, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
that's the better like haunted thing that like
yeah,
latches onto you. Because fear.com, it was a website that like once you
yeah.
go on it, you're gonna die, right? Or
You
something.
die, yeah,
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 but a lot of the same kind of imagery and, like, CGI, and he definitely had, like, a horror aesthetic, which I appreciate,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the plot follows a group of strangers who are invited to a party at an abandoned insane asylum where they are offered $1 million each by an amusement park mogul if they are able to survive the night. It's produced by Robert Zemeckis and Joel Silver through their Dark Castle Entertainment production banner. It is a remake of the 1959 film, the same name, like you said, directed by William Castle. And it has special effects and makeup courtesy of Gregory Nicotero and Dick Smith. Like we also said, the movie did receive very negative reviews from critics, but it was a commercial success. It opened at number one with $15 million and ended up grossing $43 million worldwide on a $19 million budget. It also
Mhm.
spawned a direct to DVD sequel called
Oh
Return
my
to House on Haunted Hill. It
I
came out in
forgot all
2007.
about
I've
that.
never seen it. I don't know if
I've
it's good
never
or
seen it
not.
either.
Don't know if
Wow,
it's
I
good.
forgot all about that. While we talk, I'm gonna look at pictures to see just how just the quality of that straight to DVD sequel.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And yeah, I never personally seen it, but I did. This was a fun rewatch. I actually love
Yeah.
the chemistry of the ensemble cast in this. Um, I don't like that there's certain characters. I mean, of course they're gonna die, right? They're gonna pick them off one by one until we're left with
Mhm.
like whoever our leads are, our
Mhm.
final people. I really liked Bridget Wilson's character. I thought she was kind of funny, and then
Absolutely.
I thought we got rid of her too early.
I
Uh,
know,
but
especially because you and we've talked about it on your show, but, like, it was so fun having Bridget Wilson from I Know What You Did Last Summer back in
yeah,
another horror movie, and she looks
yeah,
gorgeous, and she's kinda giving a little bit of a Gale Weathers vibe in this one with the
yeah,
camera. She's like a content creator before that was even a thing, you
yeah.
know? So, I agree. She doesn't have a ton to do. Also, she's like the most prominent, I feel like, on the poster, on the
Oh, the
cover.
poster, like her and Tay Diggs, like
And
on
Taye
each side of each
Diggs.
other. Yeah.
So that
Um,
we kind of fell for that marketing too, but it's still good to have her in it, you know?
yeah, and maybe she does kind of have that like kind of I guess bitchy kind of persona that I guess
Right.
Famke Jensen's character has too.
Yes.
So I guess we wouldn't have two of them.
Famke, I
But
mean, what are their names? Evelyn and Steven, the main couple,
yeah,
Jeffrey Rush and Famke. Oh my god, the two of them. I always forget whenever I rewatch this how scarily awful they are to each other. I mean, they
yeah.
hate each other,
So
you
while I
know?
was watching it for this, I was like, dude, this works as a fun like relationship drama. Then also like their stuff together was, I mean, just like barb after barb after barb, just insult,
Yeah.
insult, insult. And it's just I was like, this is like completely entertaining. I almost don't need the ghosts to show up. I can just like watch them
I
like
know.
go at it, and they're perfectly like fun together. Like I mean, Famke
Oh,
just
yeah.
as she exudes like even though I think she's a great actress because she's able to do she
Mhm.
played Jean Grey and like pull for our sympathies, especially in X2 where like her
Yeah.
character has like a really big emotional arc in the end, and she can really play that. But she
Yes.
also has that look where she can play pretty, like
Like,
mean, bitchy,
mean,
like yeah,
tough, we just
snarky.
talked about her last fall, last winter for in The Faculty, like, she
Yeah,
was like this was, like, when she was busy, each year with stuff, like and you're right,
yeah.
I'm glad you brought up X-Men because I feel like still to this day, she doesn't get as much credit for her Jean Grey as she
I don't think she
should,
does either. And
right?
even if you don't want to like, you can say, especially with the first movie, that a lot of the other X-Men, her included, they are more supporting characters than
Mhm.
a main story that's driven by Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and a Packard's
Right.
Rogue.
Yeah.
But you even can still feel her warmth of that in that character in that first movie, and
Yeah.
then by the second one, she's given a lot more to do, and that movie works as well as it does by the end
Mhm.
because
Oh, yeah.
of her story arc. And
Absolutely.
they waste her in the third one, of course, because
Yeah,
that was a
she's
whole other
got things
story.
to do, but we know the third is wonky, and I still
Yeah,
have not seen. I'm behind on my X-Men movies. I haven't really seen most of the Deadpool movies, but I haven't seen the Wolverine where she comes back with Hugh. I
yeah.
gotta still see that one. And Logan, I'm behind on my X-Men for sure.
And
I'm
and
not your
thankfully
X-Men expert.
they rectified the whole like what they did with her and a bunch of the X-Men in Days of Future
Okay.
Past. So that was good. That was
Oh,
good.
yeah. I did love
Yeah,
that one, yeah.
that movie
Yeah.
served as way, let's recon that bullshit. And I was like,
Right.
thank God they did that.
Yep.
But yeah, she
Yep.
was like during this time, yeah, you're right. She was busy, busy, busy. Like she was,
Yeah.
you know, and I miss her kind of like being and
I
stuff. I mean,
know, I
uh,
know. Absolutely.
and
She kind of now does just more of the smaller stuff every
yeah,
once in a while. She pops up in things. Yeah.
but yeah, but this is certainly a role that was you could tell was fun for her,
Oh my god.
and
Yeah.
also fun for Jeffrey Rush. Channeling a little bit of like, especially in the look of like Vincent Price, like you can like
Yeah.
tell what he's trying to do. And I love when people like him do movies like this because it's like, he's got, you know, he has a lot of acclaim and all that. He doesn't need to.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I already proved I am a very good prestige actor. I just want to have fun and do this,
Right.
and he's having a lot of fun. So
Oh my
I
god, he's
love
having
when like
so much fun. It's
I love when
amazing.
actors
It's
like him
and it's
don't like turn this stuff down. Like just have fun
right.
with it.
It's so funny now looking at it. Like I never really thought too much about him. Also, I mean, when we were kids, I was 12 when this came out. So I didn't really know him that well, but I knew that he was in wasn't he in the movie Rush, which is or is that
Oh,
what it
he's in
was called?
Shine.
Rush?
He's in Shine.
It was
He's
in
in
Shine,
Shine.
Shine. Yeah.
I think he won an Oscar for that too.
Yes, I think he won the
Yeah,
Oscar, right? So, like, I knew
yeah,
he was, like, a big deal that way, but, like, he wasn't very exciting for me like some of the others were, like, Ali Larter was just in Varsity Blues, like,
yeah,
Famke, Bridget, Tay was, like, quickly becoming, like, a big thing. So I'm like,
yeah,
"Yeah, this guy." But now as an adult, I'm like, "It's so cool." You're right that he said yes to this. He must have been a fan of the original,
yeah,
because it was just it's pretty special to have him, and I mean, I can't imagine the movie now without him, because
yeah,
he's just a powerhouse. He's got
yeah.
a
He's
lot to
such
do.
and they and it's cool they fill all the other roles in with like everyone is recognizable in it. Like everyone filling in all
Mhm.
the supporting parts is
Peter
recognizable.
Gallagher's got some fun stuff
Peter
too,
Gallagher,
you know?
yeah, this is like pre Sandy Cohen, so good for him. I mean, not that
Yeah.
Peter Gallagher is defined by the OC; he was doing a lot of stuff
Right.
before that, but a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
know him from the OC. And a character and person that used to annoy me when I first watched this a long time ago, who
Yeah.
didn't annoy me now, who I found funnier in this viewing was Chris Kattan.
Yeah.
And when I first saw the movie, I was like, God, he's annoying. But I
Yeah.
just love like his all this chick. He's like, give me my money. I want my money and I want it now. Like he just wants to get
Yeah.
out. He knows how like he knows shit's about to go down. It's not like he
Right.
just wants to get out of there. And I can appreciate that more now than when I was younger.
Totally.
Chris Kattan was never really my jam like on SNL and all that. So I
Right. Night of the
didn't love.
Roxbury and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But when I was watching this, I found myself laughing at him more than I thought I would
Yeah.
because I
I
remember it
could
being more annoying.
see
I guess.
I can totally see why people might find him annoying because, he's already like loud and kind of like high pitched and like a little grating. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's such interesting casting. It makes a lot of sense to have someone funny, popular, because I mean he was on SNL at the time.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, he fits in nicely. Yeah. But I could see him getting a little grating for sure,
yeah.
and
I
that's
feel like
supposed to
with
be the character, I guess,
yeah, and with the cast, I think they tried to hit like every quadrant they could possibly hit
Yeah.
with the casting of it. Yeah,
And
they were
I
like
think they did
any
well.
demo was almost every demo was like represented that they needed
Right.
to represent
You're so
in the
right.
movie. So you said that you saw this in theaters. What
Mhm.
was it like? Do you remember that first experience of seeing it, and kind of what was
Mm.
like your take on it
You know,
watching it for this?
I wish I remembered seeing it in theaters. I know I saw it and I know I saw it with my dad, but I don't really remember the experience. I remember it was like busy. It was popular, which makes
Yeah,
sense since it was number 1. But I really remember the following Halloween. So it would have been Halloween 2000. Um, I had 3 Halloween parties in a row, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. And I had everyone come over. We went trick or treating. Then we would watch scary movies that like a lot of the kids weren't allowed to see, but my parents were cool. So like the following year, we watched The Blair Witch Project and House on Haunted Hill. It came on, I think, on HBO as some people were starting to leave. So I was like, "This is the after party." I'm like, and not many of them had seen it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh god, this is good. It's creepy. It's violent. It's bloody." Like, so that I remembered that very well, kind of showing some friends House on Haunted Hill, but slowly, like by the time it ended, I think it was just me and one more person because people had to like get picked up, because we were kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always really liked it. I think it has some truly creepy visuals, like
Imagery
really
in it.
well made. It kind of gets a little I don't want to say sloppy, but it gets a little wacky, confusing at times, kind of throughout, but like it
Yeah.
doesn't fall apart, but it just gets a little wacky. But I think, most of it is pretty strong. I think it's a great concept, and I think they did a really good job, like I said, bringing it to modern day at the time and
Yeah.
adding these weird, creepy people and demons. Like, I'll never forget, it was in the trailer and the commercials, but it's so effective in the movie. Bridget Wilson, our girl with her video camera, like
Yeah.
lowering it,
That's so well. Yeah.
and seeing Jeffrey, uh, what's his name? Combs? Is that his
Yes.
name?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
blanking.
Yeah.
Yes. Gosh, brain
That
fart. Who
he
we
plays the
talked about
doctor.
last year,
He plays
and
the doctor.
I
Yeah.
still know. Yeah, and
Still
like
no. Yeah.
seeing him, and
Reanimated
then
her.
and then she brings it back up, and then that creepy thing that like blows the wind in her face, like really iconic,
Yeah.
very spooky stuff. So I've always loved it since I've seen it.
And a lot of the imagery that like taking place before it got kind of old, because like I mean, you see a lot of this stuff in other movies like
Yeah.
this where the imagery is almost similar, and like thankfully when this came out, a lot of people hadn't
Oh
really
yeah.
done that yet. So
Absolutely. Like I remember when I believe it's Jeffrey Rush is his character is looking at like the security cameras when his like assistant's face is like chewed off, which was
yeah, yeah,
amazing, right? And that's when I think he's seeing the doctor, and like you're saying, like the visuals that were kind of popular at the time, The Ring sort of did it, The Grudge even a little bit too, but like where like creepy people would like walk in weird sped up or slow down
yeah,
like
like it's
choppy
skinny, like
ways.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that was
So
spooky.
yeah, I saw this in theaters, and I do remember one thing I do remember, it was packed, and
Yeah.
also the collective thoughts from my friends that it was better than The Haunting. Like as soon as we walked out, like, oh, this is like so much better
Totally.
than that was. I mean, I feel like that's what The Haunting maybe should have been. Like maybe have more fun with its
Well, I
story
think
and its plot,
for
I guess.
me, talk about grading, with Chris Kattan.
Yeah,
The biggest issue for me with The Haunting was, sadly, Lily Taylor, who's a great actress, and she's amazing
yeah.
in The
It just like
Conjuring.
she
So
overacts in the. I mean,
she's
I don't know if it's
so
her fault. Maybe
much.
John didn't know how to direct her, or if it
I
was just the script.
guess. She is too
But
much because you got Catherine Zeta-Jones and Liam
yeah,
Neeson,
she
who are
was
much more, like, chill,
innocent,
and then Owen
innocent.
Wilson, who's, like, like, the goofy
Yeah,
one who's, like, and then Lily is just constantly wide-eyed, and it's like, "Oh my god, you're exhausting us?" So,
yeah,
I think the casting was slightly off with her, and also,
yeah.
at that time, I don't know, at least for us, kids, teens, who cares about Lily Taylor? Like, I know that's terrible to
True,
say.
and
As an adult, yes,
it's
but
true because like Catherine Jones was just becoming really popular around that time, and
yes,
like
she had
you
just done
and
Zorro and everything.
yeah, and so that was she was definitely a supporting player, but they promoted it more around her when the movie
Yeah,
was coming out because
yeah,
she was emerging as a big star.
yeah,
And like I said, like she was innocent. Liam Neeson, they were innocent. They were just they did the best
yeah,
they could,
I know, yeah,
and that
totally.
um but yeah, but that was the thought that we had, and then I guess I was surprised that critics didn't love House on Haunted Hill too much.
Mm.
It doesn't seem like something they would like a lot. Um,
I'm gonna look at
but
some reviews while we talk because I don't know. I think the movie is better than those reviews. Like I said, it's not
yeah,
perfect. We know that, but I
yeah.
think it's a really good horror movie. I
Well,
mean, come
I do
on,
too.
right?
I wanted to comment on what you said too about it. Like it gets a little sloppy, and I'm like I kind of agree with that. I think that
Yeah,
there's just so much going on at one point. Like it's just you
right,
have the stuff with the husband and wife, and like who's trying to kill who, whatever's going on there, and like oh
right.
this is all a setup, right? This is all stage. This is fake, and like no
Right,
no
what's
no,
real and what's
and what's
actually,
not.
people
And then you
die
have the whole
people die, quote unquote,
yeah,
multiple
yeah,
times, so you're like, "Oh,
right,
huh?" Which is
and then you
cool,
have
but
the
it's,
whole right, and then you have the whole creepiness of like the house itself, the insane asylum itself, and then that history and then what's
The
going on with that. So
backstory.
there's a lot
Yeah.
kind of happening at once that I guess
Mhm.
it can get a little sloppy as it goes along.
Plus, I do have to say, I've always, ever since I was a kid, I've always been confused by early on in the film. It's shot so quickly that I think this scene needed more meat to it to really help us understand. Maybe I'm the only one, but like, Evelyn sends what's his name? Stephen Price, I think is the
Yeah.
character's name, Jeffrey. Yeah.
Yep.
So she sends him the guest list, right? He
Mhm.
shreds it because he hates her and wants to mess with her. And
Yeah.
he has a different list that his thing is he wants to invite people who are just as money hungry as she is, I guess, to mess with her, right? But
Yeah.
then he leaves his laptop because again, it's 1999. We need to make this as modern as possible.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He leaves his laptop, and there's a shadow, which I don't think they should have done because I'm like, oh, a person was in the office. Who's that going to be? And we don't ever see a person because it's just the ghost, right? It's just
Yeah.
like the
Just the ghost.
haunted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait, why is the house ghost? We'll just call
How
it
they
like
how is
in
it in
his
the
office.
office?
I guess
Yeah. It
I
doesn't
guess
make any
just
sense.
by talking about it, they're summoning it, which I don't hate. I'm okay with that. But then you gotta like cut back to the creepy, and I mean this building that they used is amazing. Wow,
Amazing.
like
Yeah.
crazy, hospital turned house, whatever. But you gotta like cut back to that and like kind of show us like, ooh, they're conjuring it up, but they don't. So there's this shadow, and the mouse is moving and deleting and typing, and then it so quickly fades to now the montage with Marilyn Manson's
Which
Sweet
the
Dreams, which
first time
I
I
did
ever
always
heard
love.
that cover of that
Oh,
song was the first time
yeah.
I saw the movie. I was like that, and that scene still goes
I know
today.
Marilyn Manson is awful, in real
Yeah.
life, but that cover, I mean, he Untainted Love, I mean, he knew how to make, like, some good edgy covers, but this perfectly used in this movie, and how
It's
great to see
cool way
the
to introduce all those characters that way to,
Yes,
like,
and
bring
the
them to the house.
invites,
Yeah.
great, but did you agree that, like, whoa, okay, we have a list, it's being shredded, he's typing up a list, that's being deleted, like, it's just so fast
Yeah.
that and it's so important that I do think that needed just some
A
more
little
breathing
more time.
room,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Because
I agree with
then
you.
then you have Famke enters, Evelyn enters, and I love her. Always love her line.
Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are all
Who
you?
the hell are
And
you?
then the glass, right?
Like, yeah.
Iconic, right? But
And I love that Tay Diggs like helps her, and then he saves her life,
get off
and
me.
then
Yeah.
and then she calls me you pervert. Like,
Yeah.
she's such it's so
She's
great though.
so badass. Like I feel like drag queens need to do her way more because it's just amazing. But so now you have these strangers, so that's complicated, right? But
Yeah.
then, on top of it, it gets kind of more and more, you got to really listen because then Ali Larder, her character is actually not who was invited.
Oh
She got
yeah,
the
not
invite,
invited at all.
right? So then
Yeah,
some people, and like Tay Diggs says, I was adopted. So like then it's
adopted.
like, oh, so
It
some
throws
people
like some plot stuff that
actually
you like yeah.
right. And I don't know what would have been a better way to let it breathe, but I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. I'm like, "Oh, wait, okay. So what?" You
The
kind of have to
problem
like take notes.
The problem with that, which is a cool thing that they did, I mean, the whole like showing the shredding of the list and then showing what is the ghost creating the new list would have been
Yeah.
fine. I think having the shadow there makes it seem like something else is going, like there's is
Right.
someone doing it. I mean,
Yes.
I know like they probably were assuming the audience would get that, like especially once they
Right.
reveal like what's going on, that there's
Yeah.
something manifested, to bring them there.
I
But
think
it's
what
the
would
way
have
it's
been
shot
better.
that yeah,
Yes, exactly. Like we needed almost like I can't remember exactly what's behind. I know he has like his window behind him, but like what if the blinds like quivered a little bit like from the wind? Like
yeah,
let's add a little bit of Final Destination elements to this, right? Where like
yeah,
something spills or like we hear like a whoosh. Like we gotta just kind of reveal that like, oh, there's a spirit in here, but it feels so much like a person. And here's me having not even seen the original. So I
yeah,
didn't know it like, ooh, a person's involved. So who's like the killer? Who's the one doing all this, But it's
right.
not. So yeah, it's just a little murky there when maybe a better movie or just a movie made a little later where a lot of filmmakers know how to carefully, put those little elements in. I think
Yeah,
maybe that would have helped it,
yeah.
But with that said, it's still like It's just so atmospheric, and I am so thankful for it. I love a movie with a good setting, even if it's just like a normal house, like Scream or whatever in like suburbia, like as long as I can really feel like I am there,
Yeah.
we're good,
And honestly, a lot of horror movies get a lot of crap for like in look for like some people like saying like, oh, it just looks really dark, like it just like
Mm,
to add, and that's like what they're using as atmosphere. Like I
right.
love that this movie isn't just that. The imagery in it is pretty good as well. Like
Yeah,
there's like it's totally atmospheric and not I think just because it was one of the first of these to like
right.
emerge that it and you could tell that even Dark Castle Entertainment themselves just kind of copied that.
Yeah.
Like 13 Ghosts looks a lot similar in a lot of ways. I mean
Honestly, it's so funny, and I thought of that when I was rewatching this. I was like, "Is 13 Ghosts, like, in the same house as this? Like, is that just, like, in another wing of this hospital house?" But I'm into it.
it,
I'm okay with that because, like, they just look so cool and gothic. They look both movies look both super modern, but super, old school, which is great for this?
yeah, I agree.
So
Um, yeah, and it's cool too because I don't think the movie is scary. I always like to point some of this stuff out when we talk about the horror movies, like because
yeah,
some people have asked if I forget, like, oh, do you think the movie's scary?
yeah.
I wasn't scared, but like there's definitely like I'm just more caught up. It feels more like a vibe than anything.
Yeah.
Like it really
You
it
weren't
really
even
pulled.
scared when, like, the creepy nurse who, I realized this year, creepy nurse woman who just has that, like, one, shot,
Oh yeah,
she's from Ghostbusters, she's Gozer, isn't that so funny?
that's
But,
true.
which is amazing, I didn't know that until, like, this year. But, you don't even get creeped out by that shot where it's her and then, like, the guy that's, like, really
Oh,
fast behind her,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that
Like,
actually is pretty, yeah, cool looking.
I feel like some of
Uh,
that is pretty effective? And, like, the underwater
yeah,
stuff and,
yeah.
um there's a lot of, like, nudity, which I completely forgot. I don't wanna say a lot,
I
but
did too, actually, more than
there's
I
a good amount
remembered.
of boobs. Yeah, I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know if we needed all that, and it kind of adds especially in the beginning when, like, the mental patients are really going crazy and ripping the nurses' shirts open. I'm like, "Ugh, okay, this is getting like, I don't wanna see sexual violence," you know what I mean? And that's what we're
yeah, yeah,
alluding
yeah,
to, so it's sorta taking the fun away, but yeah, there are definitely some boobs, which
yeah,
is interesting? Adds to the bizarreness of it all, I
yeah.
guess?
I
But
think
yeah,
the
I
only
understand.
visual
It's more of a vibe than an actual, like, keep you
yeah,
up at night.
I actually think the only visual that didn't quite stand up, I mean, maybe it did 99, I trying to remember what I thought
Mm,
of it then, is when you see, like, the ghost, like, the mass of it, like, when it's, like, taking
right.
up everyone in and you see it up close like that. I mean, you could tell it's an effect, so, like, it does take you out of it, like, a little bit. I think that's the only
Yeah.
thing that visually that didn't really hold up that well, but, like, everything
Yeah,
else, I think, for
I'm
the most
torn
part
about
does.
that because I always kinda liked it, like, I always did kind of think this creepy black mass that's, like, kinda spidery, like, coming towards you through the halls. I always thought it was kinda cool, but I think maybe it just they almost needed to not rely so much on CGI and also needed to add, like black fog, like actual
Yeah, yeah,
physical, like smoke as well or something. Maybe they thought that would be cheesy, but I know what you mean. It's cool in some moments, and then it's just this weird CGI blob, and then their heads are in it. I mean,
yeah.
it is pretty cool when Famke Jensen's
Oh,
like,
it switches to her,
in it,
yeah,
and she's immediately like evil and like, you know, whatever she
yeah,
says, like, come in or whatever,
yeah.
you know?
They do give her that one little soft moment where she's like, I think she asked Steven, like, Steven, are you doing this? Like, and he's just like,
Yes,
no,
I love that.
no, I'm not. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that shot. I mean,
yeah.
after he throws her through a wall, I
I
mean, like,
know, right?
they
Yeah.
real toxic relationship, but she's on
Yeah,
the I do love that whole bit before like, as the black cloud, we'll call it, is starting to emerge. I
yeah,
think, like, what's really cool is, yeah, like, when it's, like, crawling towards her, I almost think it should have been more, like, on the walls, like, just like
yeah,
almost like vines, maybe we needed more of that, but I love that. I love earlier on when Taye Diggs and Ali Larter are, like, walking through the halls, we kinda close in on, like, just the black bloody goo on the walls, and it's actually,
yeah,
like, moving like bugs. So that
yeah.
kinda stuff, I liked when it actually had some, physicality to it rather than just, like, a CGI cloud. But yeah, I love
Agree.
that shot. Are you doing this? Because I understand, I mean, what's real and what's not? We're all
No,
kinda
yeah.
confused. Who's actually dead?
And then
So, I
everyone's
get it.
like, everyone's one way or another either backstabbing or lying or like
Yeah.
there's like something
Or,
going
like,
on. Like, I mean,
getting
like,
possessed because, like, like who kills Peter Gallagher? She stabs him,
Yeah.
which is a shock still to this day. I'm always like, oh my god, that's right, she kills this guy. But then I guess
Because
do the ghosts,
they were lovers.
they were lovers, yes, and
It's
she
also
wanted
like
him
that's what I love about it. It's like all this adult
gone.
stuff is layered into this story too, where it's like
Right.
affairs and like all that. Like it's
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
Allie Larder's lying. Everyone's lying.
yeah, everyone's lying, which I'm into,
Yeah.
but it's just like, whoa, like it's a whiplash movie. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, did not see that, But then
Yeah.
who cuts off his head? I guess just the ghosts?
I
Because
think the
like
ghost does.
I was always like, is it a ghost or is like because then you see I was about to call her Jean Grey. Then you see Evelyn like walking through
Crossover.
the halls in like her dirty dress, but I guess that's a costume. Like, so
Yeah.
I always like forget, like, I'm like, oh yeah, is she like kind of possessed now? I'm like, oh no, she's not. It just feels like she could be. I do
Yeah.
love when after Ali Larter shoots Jeffrey Rush, which is also shocking. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
girl, what? Why do they even have guns? Like, this is
I know
crazy.
how.
I do love the gun coffins. That's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
that was pretty cool, actually.
A pretty like amazing set design. But yeah, she shoots him, and then we think he's dead. But then Evelyn comes up, and then she says how much she hates him, and then that leads to their fight. Right? It's just like whoa, lots of twists in this movie. Maybe that's why critics didn't love it. It's just kind of twist upon twist. I get it. It's wild.
Yeah, but that's also what makes it fun, though.
Yeah.
When I was watching it for this, I kind of forgot about all of that.
I
I
bet. Because
forgot.
how
I
long had it
forgot
been
that.
for you
Oh,
since you
really
last saw
long time.
this?
Like probably
Yeah.
like 2009. Maybe it was like it's been a really
Wow.
long time. Yeah. So
Okay,
I didn't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
a lot of that. I was like, oh, like they have to they're faking Evelyn's death to pin it on her husband and then I forgot about her and Peter Gallagher being lovers. I was like, oh shit,
Yes.
that did happen.
And
And
he
then
has to like
I did
revive
remember
her.
he
Like
revived her.
she's
Yeah,
actually, I guess, dead from the electrocution. It's
yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
I did
Yeah.
remember the plot device about Ali Lauder and Tay Diggs. I remember that and because
And that's
it
why they
came right
survive, I guess.
and it came
Right?
right back to me when they all had to introduce themselves, and then her introduction is very much like not as effortless as the rest of theirs.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's like, "Oh, I got to pretend now,"
Yep.
and you can tell that she is just pretending like it's her boss, right? That she's supposed to
Right.
be acting like.
Yes.
I remember right then. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's her secret, that she's not really her."
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think
And I
that's what
guess
makes it kind of fun.
that helps them survive. They're the only two who survive because
Yeah.
what is it, Gayus? I already forget. Is the people that were invited by the house are all related to the mental patients? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
I think something like that. Yeah, that they
Yeah.
have some kind of relation to them, and that's why I wonder what's funny too. My friend, when he watched it, I told him we were doing this. He was like, "Oh, I watched it a year ago." He's like, for the first time, and
Oh,
he's like,
wow.
okay. And he was like, did the house not care that Ali Lauder was lying? Because like, wouldn't the house know as soon as she was up in there that wasn't who they invited? Like, I know.
And
I was like,
wouldn't
yeah.
you-
I mean, I guess you could pick it apart like that. Yeah.
Right. But that's a good point. Wouldn't you think the house would immediately like kill her
Like,
off? Like, how
yeah,
dare you?
Like not
Right?
kill Bridget Wilson first, like get rid of Ali Lauder.
Yeah.
Not that I mean, I don't know if I really wanted Ali Lauder to go first, but
Right.
it was a good point to make. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great, because like I mean, the house was
That's
smart
true.
enough to get into Jeffrey Rush's office and make the list.
Yeah.
So it wasn't smart enough to realize that wasn't her when she
Right.
walked into the house.
Oh God.
But you can't pick it apart too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also said, he was like, dude, I kind of like the movie though because it's like really messy, because like these fucking like all these relationships are so messy. Everything about the movie is
Yeah.
messy. But he's like, but that's
Yeah.
what I kind of like about it. He's like, I almost feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm watching a horror movie. A
Yeah.
little bit.
You like it's not boring. You
not
cannot
at
call
all.
this slow because there is like always a twist. There's always a fight. There's like lots going on. It is
Yeah.
crazy. Do you know if we ever got like a Halloween Horror Nights house of this? Because that would be so
I don't know.
cool.
I know usually because
wonder.
sometimes I look up the stuff on the Wikipedia and they usually will mention something like that.
Yeah. And it
Oh
probably
wait.
let me see, 'cause that
No,
would have
no,
been
that doesn't
so
relate to it.
cool. Right? All those
Yeah, I'm
dark
surprised they didn't.
hallways.
Because I
Right?
feel like
Oh,
lesser horror movies have gotten that treatment. So
right. Oh, of course. I agree. Uh-huh.
Um,
Right?
yeah, so yeah, that it would have been really effective to do it there.
Yeah.
Speaking of like the good ghost effects, someone just pointed out too. I was like looking at what some people send me messages and stuff when they know we're going to do a certain movie. They
Oh,
were saying
yeah.
that the effects for the ghosts and everything are similar to what Adrian Lyne does in Jacob's Ladder, and I guess that is true. Like some of those effects
Ooh.
are similar-ish, like the look of
Yes.
and then the fast, like that kind of thing.
Yes,
They do
you're
that in Jacob's Ladder.
right.
that's a nice little homage to that movie.
Yeah, I forgot about
Too.
that. Yeah, I've seen that only once. I really need to see that one again because I remember it was creepy, but my
And it
memory's a
creeped
little
me out
foggy.
as a young kid, and I've never been able to watch it again.
Ooh, I
And I
watched it
don't.
not long ago. Definitely within the last 10 years for the first time, but I'm definitely due for a rewatch. It's a spooky one. That's interesting. Same techniques. Love that.
Yeah. Also some interesting thing. They said there were several key scenes that were taken out of the final cut. This included an
Mm.
exposition scene in which Sarah Wolf, Ali Larter's character, is fired by her boss, who was
Oh.
played by Debbie Mazar. Who was
Oh my god, I think I knew that and I forgot Debbie
yeah,
was in it.
yeah.
Wow. Oh,
Uh, they said two versions of the scene were shot, both taking place on a film set where Wolf hands Jensen a bag delivered for her. Inside is a music box with a Jack in the Box trigger, which cuts the handler's finger. Jensen throws the box in the garbage, and Wolf discovers the invitation to Price's party inside of it. This is why in the final cut of the film, Wolf hesitantly introduces herself to Price as Jennifer Jensen in the final cut of the movie. She later confesses to Eddie Baker about posing as her in order to receive the money. But details surrounding the circumstances in which she received the invitation are sparsely revealed. That is true. That they don't really.
okay. Yeah.
But I think you get enough of, like, you don't really need. I guess
Right.
you don't really need that scene in there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can see why they cut it.
I think it would have been interesting. And which one I think did Knives Out 2 do this where at the beginning, yeah, it showed each of them getting or most of them getting the invite
Invitation.
separately.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That could have been interesting to just add on, even if it was just a montage of just showing everyone. But at the same time, yeah, I really like meeting everyone in their cars. And also
Yeah.
just how perfect like these people came from, I assume, all over or at least like they're not all leaving their house at the same time and they don't all live next to each other, but the cars are all like one by one coming up the road. Like,
I mean, it's a better shot that way.
Yeah.
Like watching
Yeah.
them in the darkness.
right.
Yeah.
Rather than like one person at a time. But it is kind of funny. I never thought about that until now,
Yep. And then they said the final epilogue scene completing the Jennifer Jensen story arc, who I guess she had more stuff to do, was also filmed, featuring the character arriving at the house with a realtor, which she was claimed to now inherit it. As she enters the front door, a blood-curdling scream is heard, and the realtor is revealed to be Dr. Vandecutt. Director Malone said the scene ultimately was removed after the cutting of Jensen's exposition scene with Ali Lauder, as well for having a comical tone that did not fit the rest of the movie.
Oh, interesting. And who did you say was going to be with the realtor? Debbie Mazar, Jen Jensen, or
That character, yeah. So
Huh.
but since they cut the other scene with her, they were like, well, this
Okay.
isn't gonna work. And I can see that being
Wow.
more hokey and funny, like having her scream as we
Right.
either cut away from the
Yeah.
house or pull away from the house, whatever the
Right.
situation is.
Wow. Interesting.
I think it is kind of interesting that like that character had a lot, like it wasn't just kind of a mention, had some stuff to do.
She actually, yeah.
And I guess I would have like fleshed out Ali Larter's character enough or more, but I think you already get enough of what you need to just by her telling it or revealing it.
It probably, by keeping that in, if let's say if it actually did work better, it probably would have cued us into Ali Larter like being the lead. But I kind of like
Right.
how like you're not really sure. It feels very much an ensemble, except for the main couple. Like they to me
Right.
feel like the lead until then, middle of the movie, we're starting to see like who are we following the most? Who are we rooting for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. And I like that it feels like more. I mean, again, like I hate that we lost Bridget Wilson too early in the movie, but I love that it is like a true ensemble movie.
Mhm.
Most part, even though you're right. The couple are the effective leads of it, but I
Yeah.
like that you get like different types of characters in this, like different personalities throughout the movie,
Right.
and they all bring something a little bit fun and different to
And
the film as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of the cast, I always loved the like red handprint. Like I've always loved that, but I've always been surprised by the people they left out because I'm like, why did you not put Famke Jensen
Who is?
on the?
Yeah, she's not. Like I was just
He's
looking
not
at that.
on
She's
it,
not on the
and neither
poster.
is Peter Gallagher, which is sort of
Not Peter
surprising just
Gallagher.
because he was always sort of a bigger deal. But
Jeffrey Rush's all the way in the back.
he's in the back. Yeah, Chris Kattan, I guess, because of SNL, that makes sense. Even though character-wise, like he wouldn't really need to be on the poster, but like I always think that with like Scream 3 or like just different horror movies of this time, I'm like, and why'd you put that person on the poster but not like someone else? Like it's
Yeah.
just funny how our brains
And
go there.
I always mention this when they talk about they're like Tay Diggs is front and center on the poster for a couple of reasons. He was pretty big around this time. He was like in every
how Stella
like,
got her
every
group
black
back was
movie in
like
that time
right.
period. Stella got her groove back. The Best Man, the
The
Wood,
Best Man, The
Brown,
Wood,
Brown Sugar. Like he was in all of these movies. from the
Yeah.
late 90s through early 2000s.
Plus, he
But
was in Rent
also,
on Broadway,
on
I
Broadway as
think
well.
right before this. So at least
Yeah.
like, audiences were seeing him, he was with Idina Menzel back then. That's
Yeah.
how long ago
That's
this
how long
was,
ago this was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things that one of the producers on Halloween, when they were talking about Halloween H2O, and they were talking about casting LL Cool J, and he was just so
Uh-huh.
honest that like, hey, we found in our research that like African Americans like love horror movies and they want to see themselves represented in them. So
Right.
that's why they cast someone like LL Cool J or Busta Rhymes or
Right, right.
Brandy, and I still know like,
Mhm.
and Tay, now not a musician, but Tay Diggs filled that quadrant for them, where it's just like
Yeah.
that's why he's front and center on the poster, because it's like, hey,
Mhm.
like someone that
And
looks like he's
also
also in this movie.
And
Yeah,
also, like, he and Ali Larter are beautiful, so it's like, it makes
yeah,
sense that way, and also he's good, he fits this
yeah,
movie so well, so it makes sense, but yeah, I had a feeling it's like, "Okay, we need to have at least one person of color so
yeah.
that, the
Throw them on a
audiences are
poster.
like, 'Okay, we see at
Yeah,
least someone a little bit,' like, because it's pretty white, as this time really
yeah.
was for these movies, Yeah.
And but we have to say, in the land of horror movies where most black people don't survive, he's one of the few that does.
He's the
So
final boy. Mhm.
good for him.
Yes,
Didn't
and
follow
they
the same.
make all that money. I always
Yeah,
forget that.
that's my favorite. Not my favorite part, but I like the fact that it ends on that note where
Yeah,
the two most sympathetic people in the movie, for arguably, end up with that reward at the end. That
right,
makes me feel good. Like, I'm glad it doesn't have to end on like a stinger. Like, I'm glad they didn't end it with that like
right,
epilogue scene, but I'm glad it ends on like this kind of really cool happy note where like that was,
right.
if they survived that, that's what they were going to
It's
get.
a
And I'm glad they're
great,
the one
like,
that like, yeah.
absolutely.
And
It's a
they kind
great
of just
happy
laugh
twist.
about it, just sitting there, just kind of like, all right,
Meanwhile,
I
it's
think
like,
that's
how the hell are they gonna
how we gonna get
get
down.
down? How
Yeah.
how are they gonna get
We're
safe? I
worried
mean,
about
like,
well,
right?
so this is a time for like what, like they didn't have like cell phones or anything like they could
Yeah,
use out there. Like, yeah, that was another thing my friend said too. He's like, that's all great, but I don't know how they're gonna spend that money all the way up there, because how
right.
the fuck are they getting down? I was like, man, they figured it out. But I do love that lens on that note, like, because they are the two most sympathetic people in the movie, and like
Yeah,
and you can tell, like, like they give them a bit more like backstory than the rest of them, and
and
like,
there's a little bit of romance, like, a
yes,
little bit
yeah.
of, like, flirtation, right?
Do you
Yeah.
ever, when you watch something like that, are you ever like, it's okay to like kind of hint at it? Like, I'm glad they don't force it. Like, they're not like, oh,
Yeah.
let's like,
Oh,
yeah,
thank God. I'm totally fine with the amount of romance in this movie because it's just sort of hinted at. It's cute. It's like they think each other are cute. They're getting to know each other, but like,
yeah,
thank God there's no kissing. I mean, a more of a campy. I mean, this movie can be campy, but I wouldn't say it's like a just the right amount of campy. A campier movie would have like had them make out or like,
make out, yeah,
do it on some gross bed. Like that's a different movie. You know what I mean?
and I'm
So
like, I got a
this
similar
is enough.
vibe when I was watching The Cell today for what we're gonna
Mm.
do for our 200, and Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn have a good connection that is like,
Yes.
like they are relating together like, on a professional level, him as a cop and her as this person who's developed this like science to like go into serial killers' minds. And
Yeah.
you could have, I guess, written that they were gonna like each other, but they wouldn't make it like more romantically like each other. But it
Right.
wouldn't have made sense in like, that movie takes place in a certain amount of time. There's like they only have this much time to save this girl that they're looking for.
Right.
It would
Yeah.
have been really weird and tacked on if they added like, oh, and there's like this romance between them. I don't mind like a hint of it. I don't mind the flirtation
Mhm.
like you see with Ali Larter and
Yeah.
Taye Diggs, but it would be like I would roll my eyes if they're like, I guess. I
Oh,
guess if you're in
yeah.
that situation, maybe, but like, no,
Uh,
we don't need it.
imagine you're walking down these gross, dark, wet, stinky hallways of this old
Let's
house, and,
do it.
like, are you really gonna wanna,
Really?
like, make out with someone? No.
Yeah,
No, come on.
at
You wanna
all.
get out. You want your money and you wanna get out. So, I think it's right. But speaking of The Cell, oh my god, Gaius, you totally reminded me that Vince Vaughn is in that movie. I totally forgot he's in that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so funny
Remember
how
he had a
in
little
the
he had a
late
little run where
90s.
he was like, I want to do serious
Yeah.
movies.
He was in so many, like, serious movies back to back in that era. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah.
Completely forgot.
Because he did
Anyway,
like he did
wow.
come off like he did like what he did like the Lost World Jurassic Park, and then he did
Yeah.
Psycho. And
Psycho
then
remake.
he
He
did
did, like,
and he
Return
did
to
this
Paradise, I think it was called, with
yeah, he did
Joaquin.
The Cell,
Um,
and he did
The
Domestic
Cell.
Disturbance with John Travolta where
Oh my god, yeah, uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I think he was wanting to get out of his comfort zone maybe, and do something.
Yeah.
The true MVP of that movie is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh,
Yeah, he
wow.
is beyond
Wow.
scary, creepy, and that's
I
also when
mean,
Jennifer Lopez used to make good movies too. That was also
yeah,
when she was kind
she
of
was
like,
I have to say she was excellent in that movie. I know
yeah,
sometimes she's not good, but when she's good and with a good director, she can do great stuff.
yeah,
That
when she
movie
be
is so
trying, man.
good. Yeah.
When she tries, like she's
And
ugh,
you hit it on the head, D'Onofrio, that's like truly one of the best horror performances and sometimes people forget that, like
yeah,
he gives
I
it.
agree.
Yeah. Spooky, spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a fun rewatch. I actually watched this and that back to back. It's just like a bunch of
Oh,
dark, very dark, atmospheric.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
visuals in both movies, but the visuals in
Yes.
the cell are just like ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Tarsum.
yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful.
it's like so
Crazy.
fucking good. Um,
Yeah.
you know what? You know what else I forgot? I know we mentioned the doctor, but I actually had forgot it was played by Jeffrey Combs, like the guy
Yeah.
who, like, he's like reanimate. I mean, everyone,
I
everyone
forgot that
talking about.
too. Like,
You know,
you get some
everyone
horror
talking about body.
royalty in this.
Yeah, in this. Yeah, everyone talking about body horror movies now because of the substance.
Right.
And if you go back and watch Reanimator if you haven't, because that's a pretty fun
You
OG
know what's
one.
crazy?
It's pretty
I
gross.
still have never seen it. I really do need to see Reanimator. I've never seen it. Is it gross? Because I would love to see the substance, but I so badly want to see it, but I really can't like do
So I have
needles.
an
I
issue
hate
with
them.
body horror movies. It's very hard for me to watch them. Like I
Yeah.
love the remake of The Fly, but I
Oh
get
yeah, I
like
love that. But that's a
I
little
have like a
different.
visceral reaction to it. Like
Yeah.
once he transforms more and more, I'm just like, ugh. Like I was like,
Yeah.
how
I
is
can
Gina
handle
Davis
the
like sticking
fly.
with him throughout that? Like, why
Right.
are you sticking with him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like
But
there's stuff in the substance where my brother, he thought it was bonkers, whatever, but he wasn't as disgusted as I would. Like, it's
oh,
some
okay.
good stuff in it, and I was like
Okay.
impressed with the effects and everything. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm the wrong person to ask because I am like
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sweet. I love horror movies. I've seen a lot of gore, but like
Mhm.
it's stuff like anything that is body related, if something's like crawling around inside of me or coming out of me, like
Oh,
that
yeah. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
freaks me out. And the substance has
Oof.
a lot of like, I mean, she comes out of her like her back, like it's like it's like
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I definitely wanna watch it, but I think I sadly just have to wait for it to be at home where I can pause it or
pause
fast
it.
forward like a nerd. But I'm mostly like with Reanimator, like he has the big needle on the poster, and I'm immediately like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can do that," 'cause I don't like needles at all. I hate seeing them in movies and shows. Even in this, were there any needles? I don't think so. Luckily
No, I
for a
didn't think of
hospital
it. Yeah.
like sequence, but ooh, so that's like where I have to draw the line, sadly. I can't stomach it. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also amazed, like, I mean, like how, I mean, I know we mentioned the Lisa Loeb thing and James Marsters stuff. I wonder how that came to be. I mean,
I
'cause
know.
they're so small, random parts
Because,
and
surprisingly, Lisa Loeb has been in a lot of things, like, as
stuff.
an
I actually
actor.
found that out casually. I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
not just like
So
her
I
from that
don't
one
know
song.
if, like, she's just, like, well connected or maybe has a good agent or something, but Lisa Loeb is, like, the most random singer to be in this movie. Of all
Yeah,
singers, think about I mean, like, you coulda had, like, more of, like, an edgier rocker person, you coulda had a pop star, like,
Courtney
Lisa
Love. I'm
Loeb,
just kidding.
we oh, totally, right? Or,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but that was so random, and it was distracting, I have to say, it's very distracting, but,
yeah,
at least she's really good, you know?
yeah. She's a convincing reporter. I'll give her
Totally.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and James Barnes just convincing cameraman.
Oh my god, I love when he's so freaked by the floor of that ride. That ride needs to be a real ride. I always think that every time I see it.
Apparently it is the incredible. It was. I don't know if it's still there, but I
Oh.
believe I can have it pulled up really quick. I just saw it. Yeah, it's a roller coaster at Pirates Amusement Park. Featured at the beginning of the film is actually the Incredible Hulk coaster at Universal Islands of Adventure theme park at Universal Orlando Resort in Florida.
Oh, how funny. Okay.
So I don't know if
That's
it's
great.
still there, but it was then at least, and it looks
Wow,
like a pretty
that's
fun
awesome.
fucking roller coaster though.
And
Yeah,
I
I love that.
assume most of the movie I didn't look this up, I should have, but I assume most of the movie was shot on a soundstage, right?
Let's see.
I imagine so,
Well, the
'cause
film was shot in late 1998 and early 1999 in Los Angeles, California, with exteriors of the house's driveway being shot in Griffith Park near the Griffith Park
Mhm.
Observatory.
Uh-huh.
And then yeah, they don't really say. I might assume most of it would be though, especially
Yeah,
like the interiors and all that. Seem like it would
right.
be in. Yeah,
and
it
getting the lighting
definitely
just
did.
right and all that, I'm sure. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great. You definitely don't feel, or at least I never do, you don't feel like you're on a soundstage. You know how some movies
So
can
that's
feel a little
yeah,
fake?
that's one of the most impressive things I thought about it because for a movie, it's not really an expensive movie at all. It's like $19 million budget, and I
Right.
like that it doesn't feel like a set. It doesn't feel like it's a soundstage. It feels very like you feel the history in it. It feels lived in. And
Yes.
I think even like the exterior shots, which probably don't look as great today, but like I love it. You give the idea of like the atmosphere and stuff of the building and everything from the outside, and then you get the
Absolutely.
full scale of it inside too. So I like that it's not. It definitely doesn't feel like a soundstage. Like
Mhm.
talking about movies that like we were talking about West Coast New Nightmare earlier. I mean, that was an $8 million movie. It doesn't look like it's that cheap.
Wow.
It looks much more expensive than that. I feel like
Yeah.
horror movies like really know how to use their money, where
Mhm.
they like every cent is on the screen. If it's like
Yeah.
if it's more ambitious, like there are some B movie horror movies that aren't, but like
Right.
some of them feel more ambitious, where it's like, oh, you can tell like every dime is on the screen, and
Absolutely. You can
I think
tell,
this is
like,
one of them.
and horror, you're just able to, yeah, like, push the boundaries with little stuff, you know? It all depends on who's on the team for, like, practical effects and all that, but that is surprising. New Nightmare was that low of a budget for such a major franchise. But I
Yeah,
guess by then, Freddy really started losing popularity, so I guess it was a
yeah.
risk, which is
It wasn't even
crazy.
financially successful. I spent
I
all these years
know.
thinking that it made money, and I was like, oh no, it
Isn't
didn't.
that
It's,
wild?
it's
It's
the
one of the
lowest grossing
best.
one.
It's one of the apps. What is it, really the lowest grossing of the whole franchise?
Yeah,
Wow. It's one of the best ones, I think. I think that sequel is perfection. It's
probably
scary
too
as
ahead of its
hell,
time.
so
I think the
smart.
whole the
Yeah.
whole meta movie within the movie thing. I think we
Yeah.
were talking about it. I think what turned some people off is, are you trying to tell me that this Freddy Krueger, like all these movies have just been movies this whole time, and
Yeah.
now you're probably, it almost feels like it's disregarding those movies, but I
Sort of.
like
I
I
could see.
but it
Yeah.
still doesn't, because they still exist in that universe.
Mhm.
Like, Wes Craven, even though he rejected a lot of those sequels, like I think it was smart of him to be like, hey, this is what Freddy has become.
I
Uh
would love
he's a gimmick.
another meta sequel in the Freddyverse. That's I might do another fan film after my Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer ones, and I think I'm gonna do Nightmare, and it's gonna be like a
Yeah,
meta sequel to New Nightmare, like set in the real world where like Heather Langenkamp like went crazy after what happened 30 years ago in New Nightmare, you know. So we'll see if I can get to it, but I would love to explore more of Freddy in like the quote unquote real
yeah,
world with more actors from the sequels. That could be like at oh, I think that could just be so interesting. So that's my
yeah.
little tangent on New Nightmare. But
Um,
yeah, it is impressive that House on Haunted Hill, the budget is only 19 because I think it
yeah.
looks pretty damn good. You know?
Yeah, actually want to pull this up really quick. I want to see how much The Haunting cost to make, because I'm sure it
Oh
was more
God, yeah.
expensive.
Let me
Um,
see.
I remember, like, because I mean, it's a bigger cast and bigger
Yeah, and it had
production.
more like, yeah, clout
Yeah,
and all
$80
that.
million budget, $80
Yeah.
million budget,
But
and it's
made
not if not for
180 million.
80,
It
yeah, if
was a
not for the
financial success.
overseas. Yeah, I think it made a little under 100 million here domestically.
Yeah.
So if not for the overseas market, they probably would have tanked pretty bad.
Mm,
Yeah, it declined
yeah.
54.4% its second weekend in the States.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is common
that's
for
crazy.
horror for it to drop. People usually go as soon as possible, you know, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's so interesting. It's so funny. I really forgot that these two remakes were in the same year. How funny the timing, you know?
yeah. And I remember, I mean, dude, even when I got the DVDs, because like my friends still say, "Why do you get DVDs for movies that you didn't enjoy?" I'm like, well, there's a time and place to watch them again. Like,
Right.
it's fun to hate watch certain movies with your friends. Like,
Oh,
are
yeah.
there so bad? Like, you can just Mystery Science 3000 them with your friends. So like that's
Oh,
one of them.
totally. Totally.
But
It's like a comfort thing, you know?
Well,
Like,
I honestly think if you ask people, like I'll put a poll up when this episode comes out, but like I think
yeah.
most people overall pick this over
Yeah.
The Haunting as far as
I would
which one
hope
is better.
so. I would
Like
totally hope
overall,
so. This one is way more interesting. And like you said, like it might not scare you, but it's creepy. There's like a real vision behind this, whereas the other one, I don't know, it's hollow. It feels hollow to me. I love in The
yeah,
Haunting one of
It's
the
very
biggest
Hollywood. That
memories.
being a problem, I
Yeah,
think, is like a very
right?
like
And, like,
budget Hollywood movie. Yeah,
and talk about, like, sets, like, yeah, it looks beautiful, but at times I do feel like, "Okay, this isn't a real house that they're in. This is like a
yeah.
soundstage." Whereas in House on
It
Haunted
looks
Hill,
too gaudy and too. Yeah,
I
it's
feel
like
like we really are in, like, some basement of some weird building the producers
yeah,
found, you know what I mean? Like, so, that's definitely saying something. But one of my biggest memories of The Haunting, and hey, like you said, sometimes it's fun to rewatch bad movies. I've been wanting to rewatch The Haunting. I don't know why. I just wanna check it out, like, because 'cause it's been years. But,
yeah,
I do remember when the piano wire, like, hits the woman's, like, eye.
yeah,
That's pretty gnarly, you know? So,
yeah.
it has some interesting moments, but
Yeah, there's some really
sleepy.
cool shots in it. That was really, and then there's this shot where she's looking up, and I think it's like the glass like turns into eyes, and it's like looking down on her. That is really
Oh,
cool shot.
yeah.
They actually use that in the trailer, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That they actually use that at the button at the end of the teaser trailer. Like, it's a really
Ooh,
cool, scary shot. Just wish
yeah.
it lived up to all of that. I mean, you made
Mm,
a good point earlier that like, I mean, William Malone. Okay, we don't want to do Fear.com, and that's not great. But like,
mhm.
do you have just the difference between having a director who understands horror and one who didn't? And
Right,
John DeBont knew action. There's
right.
some cool action set pieces in The Haunting, but you really aren't going to see your horror movies for like, they're big action set pieces.
Right, right.
And he just
Yeah.
didn't know how to direct scares or make anything atmospheric. And then that movie it's weird because that was a more expensive movie, but some of the effects in The Haunting look lesser than what we're seeing in House on Haunted Hill.
I completely agree, and maybe it's
And that,
because The Haunting is I feel like from my memory of it, it's been years, it's very bright, it's very
yeah,
lit, like,
it's
it's
very
lit
well
for,
lit
like
for a horror movie.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas
A
this
lot of it
movie
takes
is
place during the day too. It's like, whoa,
right,
my God, yeah.
like, it's very bright, whereas this movie embraces the shadows, and I wouldn't say I mean, it's dark, but I would never complain about the physical darkness of this movie. I think it's
Yeah.
totally fine. The
Yeah.
lighting is really great, you know? The look of this movie, I feel like, definitely deserves all the props 'cause
Yeah.
we don't it's a fun movie. We don't really, like, get a chance to really praise this one for what it does really well, and it
Yeah.
looks great. It totally looks
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's good. I need to upgrade my DVD. That's what I need to do
Yeah.
after doing this.
Even
Like I said,
honestly, like, I know this is super nerdy of me, but even, like, the costumes and the hair, like, I don't know, like, Ali Larter coming in with, like, her hair kinda up, but, I just feel like a lot
this
of
is only
care
like
went
a year
into
after Varsity Blues, right? And
yeah, this was later that year.
she looks
Mhm.
convincingly like older, not older bad, but like
Yeah,
old. Like she looks the part. Like she
she
doesn't
looked
look like she looks high school in Varsity Blues, and that
mhm,
was only a year before that. And like she actually looks sophisticated in this,
mhm.
and and that's what another thing that surprised me because they were only like she probably filmed those pretty close together,
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
and she yeah, but you're right. Like everyone's look in it, and very distinct looks too for
yeah,
everyone, to
and,
make them stand out.
and the original House on Haunted Hill, like I said, have you ever seen the original from 40
No, I
years
haven't
before
actually.
this? It's actually pretty amazing that that was 59 and then this was 99. That I have to give them, some credit for that. But, check it out, it's on Prime right now. It's only an hour and, like, 12 minutes, 15
Oh,
minutes. It's nice and short.
well, please,
It's
yeah.
it is camp. It is total B movie. Vincent Price is having a ball. Lots of good screams, but, like, some of the visuals are pretty great. I mean,
Yeah,
they're great in different ways. One thing that is missing shockingly in this movie, in this remake, is in the original, there's an infamous scene with, like, a big vat of acid in the floor. And, like, they say,
okay,
like, it eats everything except the bones and the hair.
yeah,
And it is surprising that this movie, Taye Diggs, when she sees him, although I guess it's not really him, but Ali Larter, like, sees him standing on the
yeah,
vat, but it's not acid, it's like blood, which is cool, but I am
yeah.
really surprised and confused why they would get rid of the vat of acid because that's a pretty big deal in the original.
And they
So, and that could have been
they could have upgraded that pretty well for this too, with
right, that could
considering
have
all the
been
other things they were doing in it.
gnarly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Imagine, like, pulling a body out of there. I mean, that could be really cool. So I don't know why they got rid of it, but some of the visuals in the original are spooky. Some are very silly, but check it
yeah,
out. It's like a fun little background, like old school end of the night kind of horror watch, and it's really fun to compare them because most of the meat and potatoes are the same. It's just
yeah,
this one, just enhances, which is what it's
yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah, it's true. And like we mentioned, the movie did open at number one, $15 million in sales in its opening weekend. They said, in keeping with the spirit of William Castle's tradition of releasing each of his films with a marketing gimmick, Warner Brothers and Dark Castle supplied movie theaters with scratch-off tickets that would be given to moviegoers. I don't remember this. The scratch-off ticket would give each patron a chance to win money, like the characters in the film.
Oh my god, I feel like I kind of remember that
It says that
actually.
the cash price is total $1 million, including rentals from Blockbuster. Dark Castle originally intended to release each of their films with a gimmick, much like Castle had done in the past. They had considered releasing the remake of 13 Ghosts in 3D with special glasses, similar to the ones used by the characters in the film. These plans were scrapped, and House on Haunted Hill remains the only film they released with a special marketing gimmick. I don't remember that. I saw this in theaters. Maybe I threw it
You
in
know, I feel like I have not thought about that in years, but I feel like now that you mention it, I kind of feel like I remember that, or maybe saw a commercial with it. But that's funny about the Blockbuster connection, because I did notice his like assistant guy in the security room does have like 2 Blockbuster VHS tapes, which is fun. It's
the time that
just the look of the blue and the yellow. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm looking at my Blockbuster game in the corner down here in my basement. And have you ever played that game, Gaius?
Is it like
It's
the cassette one that's shaped like
cassette-
a?
yes.
You
It's
know,
like a little
someone gave
board
it to
game.
me for my birthday like 2 years ago, and I haven't opened it.
Oh my god,
I
Gaius,
probably
you've got to
should.
open it. Oh my god, I'll play it with you virtually someday. We gotta. Oh my god, it's so fun.
I
Oh,
can't believe I
love
haven't
it.
opened it too. Like, because that it was a cool gift, because he knew I like movies and everything. And
Yeah.
I've never got around to opening it. But
Oh yeah, it's so
probably should
fun.
do that.
But yeah, what a time, and it's nice to see that make a little appearance in this movie, just to solidify its 1999
Yeah.
ness. You know.
Yep. Rotten Tomatoes, like we mentioned, this has a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what? I was expecting a little lower, considering how everyone didn't
Oh,
like
were
it.
you? Okay. Yeah.
And a cinema score from opening night on it got a C, which is
Oh,
normal for certain
wow.
horror. Well, certain horror movies kind of fall in that, but like I'm surprised they only got
Yeah,
a C.
that's kind of harsh. I'm just wondering, why would people not like it? Maybe it's that big black CGI cloud. You
Yeah,
know,
it could be.
the big finale.
The San Francisco Chronicle said House on the Hill is a kind of horror movie that's not a bit scary and quite a bit gross. Yet it's also mildly, even pleasantly entertaining, at least by the diminished standards set by this summer's The Haunting. Most reviews compared it to that favorably in comparison to The Haunting. But Entertainment Weekly gave it a B-. They called it trash, but creepier than you expect. Variety liked it. It says cheap scares, but adding, given the irredeemable cheesiness of the original 1958 or 59 House on Haunted Hill, the makers of the remake had nowhere to go but up. So it's not exactly a stunning surprise to find the new horror film is a slicker and scarier piece of work. But the New York Times called it a sorry reincarnation of the original, and said the film wastes the talents of actors like Jeffrey Rush, Peter Gallagher, and hollow roles, and relies heavily on its sets and special effects to do the work that should have been accomplished by its director and writer. Yeah. So they weren't too nice to it. It was nominated for worst remake at the 1999 Stinkers Bad Movie Award. I don't even know what that is.
Oh my god, Stinkers. Yeah.
And like we said, there was a sequel that was made. Jeffrey Combs reprised his role in that, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, that's good, at least.
The film had no involvement from William Malone and received poor reviews, mainly due to plot holes, continuity in the building design, and various other features of the film. But it was praised for its state-of-the-art Blu-ray feature in which the viewer can change the path of the story. I did not know that either.
Oh, that's really
kinda fun.
interesting. Okay, that's cool. That makes me now want to like not buy the Blu-ray, but like borrow it from someone or the library or something. No, I don't want to buy it.
The only one I'll be doing,
play
I'll be upgrading my DVD of the first movie. You know what? And there is, I might watch it like later just because just to have something on the background. There is a commentary on the DVD. I would like to know about how he made certain scenes and stuff like that. Dude.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
How people were cast or how they got their parts or whatever. Because that's always interesting to me, like how people were in it.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you said what you said about Bridget Wilson too. Just think about people who were in it, because they do use her front center in the poster. I guess she was a big enough name-ish then, like Billy Madison.
I guess
Mortal
so.
Kombat,
Billy Madison, Mortal Kombat. You're right. So like she had a great streak before she like retired from acting, which I'm still bummed about, because I just think she was really good.
After that, right?
The Wedding Planner.
I forgot that she retired from acting. That is true.
Yeah, she stopped like soon after The Wedding Planner because she married Pete Sampras, the tennis player, and I think they're still together.
They're still together since 2000.
I think I looked her up, and I feel like she started like a really successful business or company or something, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do this." So,
Wow. Yeah, but she did a lot. Yeah, I forgot. I mean, I know you did last summer. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's in the Suburbans, Love Stinks, Extreme Ops. She was in some
Nice.
episodes of CSI Miami, like Last Action Hero. I forgot she was in that too. Yeah, she is. You know, pretty.
Oh, I
I guess
forgot she's in Last Action
league,
Hero. Wow.
in that league of actresses, she was a pretty decent enough name
Oh
to
yeah. Oh, I totally. Yeah, it makes sense.
slap on the poster.
And at the very least, it's like she had a familiar, beautiful face. So it's like you might not remember her name, but like you saw her in Mortal Kombat or something, and she's blonde and
But here's the
beautiful, and
deal, though. Like Femke Jensen,
yeah.
was a bigger name then, right? I mean, she was in GoldenEye before this. I
She
mean,
was
way
in
before like
GoldenEye. She
uh
she to me, I just remember like even as a kid, I'm like, wait, after I saw the movie and seeing how big of a role she has and how
yeah,
I knew her and loved her, because she was in right before this, The Faculty, Deep Rising. Remember that really
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
movie?
yeah,
GoldenEye. I feel like some other stuff that I'm like, wait, like she's like kind of like the scream queen here, like the horror
yeah,
queen. Let's get her on there. So yeah, it is sort of surprising that maybe people didn't know her name yet, but they
yeah.
knew you knew her face from something, you know? So,
Yeah, and I was gonna shout out. I know we're not talking about it. Like one of the best things she's ever done. Her arc on Nip Tuck is probably one of the best
oh, I
things
never really
that
watched
show did.
Tuck. Again,
It,
I was nervous about like not like I can handle like a killer, but like anything in the hospital, medical, cutting and needles and stuff, I'm like, ooh. So I didn't even realize she was on that. But that's great. I've heard nothing but good things about that show. That's like one of Ryan Murphy's few like seems like pretty evenly good
yeah. Oh,
shows.
she was in Rounders. I didn't even remember her in Rounders.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
like
she was in Rounders, right, mhm. Yep,
yeah, yeah. Her arc on Nip Tuck is great, and like it's during season 2 when the show was actually good. I mean, right? It has
mhm.
it goes through the Murphy effect of like starting out great and then ending poorly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just like his thing, I guess.
yeah.
I think he gets attached on to other things and he can't finish out other stuff he started.
I
Um,
guess, and he's just not, like,
I'm
reading the
just
scripts, like,
I'm
fully
also
or something? I don't get
also
it.
not a big
I'm
fan of his lately, so it's just
Yeah, I
he's
haven't really watched any of his new stuff yet. I am curious about the Menendez
yeah,
brothers, at the same time, I'm like, "This story again?" But I'm
yeah,
curious. Something about Grotesquerie, I wanna like it, but I just want it to be a movie. I don't really wanna
yeah.
see 10
It,
episodes because I
it's
know
so
by the 4th
it,
one, I'm gonna hate it, you know?
and good for him that he had all these shows come out at the same time. I mean, that's probably good on him, but it's also like a lot of overload. Like he has that out now. He has American Sports Story out by Aaron Hernandez now. He has the Menendez Brothers show out now. He has
Right.
Dr. Ozzy out on ABC now. He has
Oh my
911
god,
on
that's
again.
right.
Like
Yeah.
so, I mean, I guess props to him for having a bunch of shows on TV, but
You
it's
know,
a little
I watched the premiere of Dr. Odyssey just to support our boy Joshua Jackson and to just see how beautiful the set is and the cameras, but, like, it is so not for us. It is for our parents or older, like, it is just so
it's
deep,
a
but it's eye candy, I get it, like, it is like, turn your brain off and just watch people on vacation, look at this cruise ship. Good for you, Joshua Jackson, make that
yeah.
money because I hope he's getting paid lots, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a pretty good TV career. I mean,
Oh,
like
yeah.
he went from Dawson's Creek to was it Fringe that was on for a while.
Fringe, you're right, and then The
He did the
Affair.
Affair for a while.
Yeah,
Like so, he
I
did
forgot
that
about
Fatal
Fringe.
Attraction like little miniseries, and then that
Right, I didn't check
and
that out, but it looked
but
interesting.
he's worked consistently.
He is a true TV
I know
star.
it's like a
Little
little
Fires
off topic.
Everywhere, right,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Reese? Mhm.
Yeah, that's a little off topic, but I posted that scene of him yelling at Joey at the prom and it's like from season 4 of Dawson's Creek.
Uh-huh,
And I was like, yeah, this is what happens when like the show is like, yo, it's our season finale. You just break them up for no reason because there really
right,
wasn't a reason to break them up. And
right.
then my friend messaged me, he's like, this scene did not age well. First of all, they're yelling at each other at prom like they're 40. Like they're not even like they don't sound like teenagers at all. I
Oh
was
my
like,
god,
man, but my brain and my mind was so mad watching that live.
that's
I was
so
like, what the
funny.
they
Well,
made him
Gaius,
like insecure for like 2 episodes before that. They're like, oh, now okay, they're setting this up to break them up, aren't they?
something's gonna happen, right?
Yeah,
Well, Gaius, you'll love my my episode that I released earlier this month. I have my friend Albert, who I worked with years ago at the talk show Regis and Kelly. He worked for Kevin Williamson on season 2 and 3 of Dawson's Creek. So he wasn't there for 4, but now there was Kevin Williamson. But
yeah,
he worked on Teaching Mrs. Tingle. He gives great like inside
It's like,
scoop and behind the scenes stories, like really fun. I mean, it's amazing what he did back then with Kevin. They're still friends. Like he's gonna
yeah,
go to the Scream 7 set and like visit and say hi. Like I'm so
nice.
jealous. So you'll love
Is it?
it. Yeah.
There seems to be a resurgence of all these people now. Like, if you have Joshua Jackson, I mean, still consistently working. Everyone's talking about
Hmm.
Adam Brody's show with Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
Like all these
I
people
want
who
to
were
check
on
that
these
out.
teen shows from back in the day, they're like, oh, like they're making a comeback. It's not like they
Hmm.
ever went anywhere. I mean, like Joshua
No.
Jackson's been working
Yeah.
consistently.
Hmm.
Um, you know, just to get it, I guess, back on the movie we were talking about. I wish someone would
Yeah.
throw Anthony Jensen more roles. I
I
mean, like
know. I was thinking, you know what?
she still looks great, and
Why
like
is she not doing like one of these
I feel like
Ryan
she could be
Murphy
on
shows?
TV. I know,
Right?
and I know that they liked working together because he credited her a lot during that second season for like the ratings
Mm.
being as good as they were. Because like that
Wow.
arc was pretty good, and like it went to places I was like, you're like, I'm like, whoa, because
Yeah.
that show was dark.
Yeah. I feel like
But
the last
she
TV show
seems
she
built for like
did.
a good miniseries or anthology series, or
Absolutely. She
like
was on
something.
I never really watched it. I tried to watch the first episode, but it was not great for me. She was in one of Netflix's, like, first
All said like
shows,
Harwood
I feel like.
something Grove,
Hemlock
Hemlock
Grove?
Grove. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never watched
Yeah,
it
she
either.
was yeah, isn't that weird we didn't watch it? I feel like that was right up
Yeah,
our alley, but,
yeah.
like,
It
something
was
about it
made for us. Yeah.
right, something about it didn't feel like, but, I'm pretty sure she was in, like, every episode of that, but, yeah, it's time for her to, like, be one of the leads of a great TV show, ideally, like, kinda spooky since she's just so good in, like, the creepy stuff, you know?
Yeah, and she's popped up in like so many things. Like, I mean, she's in Taken, she's in Don't Say a Word.
Oh,
She
I
plays
love her in
Michael
Don't
Douglas'
Say a
wife in
Word,
that.
yeah. Mhm.
And actually she was in all three of the Taken movies.
Yeah.
Uh, she had a recurring role on How to Get Away with Murder. Forgot about that. She was in 10 episodes of it. So like,
Oh.
I mean, she was on. She led the Blacklist Redemption, which was a spinoff of the NBC series Blacklist,
Oh, wow.
but it didn't last long. So like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I feel like she still got it. And I think Ali Lar is going to be on the show soon, or she's doing something soon.
Okay, she still looks great. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's what's crazy about this cast is, I mean, most of them are still working and still look pretty good. Maybe not Chris Kattan,
Yeah.
although I watched him in Celebrity Big Brother a couple of years ago, which was interesting. But I mean, even Peter Gallagher, like, yeah, you got a really solid cast here that I'd love to see more of, you know?
Yeah. I would too. She's gonna be on a TV show soon. Like, yeah, I would love to see most of these people back in things. I mean,
Yeah.
Jeffrey Rush is always gonna be busy in his own right because he's Jeffrey Rush, and
Hmm.
I love that he can jump around from like prestige stuff to stuff like this and Pirates of the
I
Caribbean. Like, he
know.
clearly
Yeah,
has like fun doing these kind of things. Do
that's
you
true.
miss these like Dark Castle entertainment movies, or do you think they got worse as they went along, or
Um,
like, because I guess House of Wax was different because like they took something that wasn't a slasher movie and then like basically
yeah,
remade it, and not in name only, but they kind of just tweaked
yeah.
that idea and
I
like made
mean,
it a slasher movie.
I love the House of Wax remake so much, but it's barely a remake. Like, I still
Yeah,
have never seen Tourist Trap, but I guess it's more of a remake of Tourist Trap, which wasn't a
yeah.
Dark Castle movie, I'm pretty sure. I love the original Vincent Price House of Wax. I I would I would like to see more Dark Castle remakes. I mean, I'm trying to think of like other ones they did that could be remade, but if they ever wanted to do it, I'm cool with it because listen, I'm okay with any
Oh,
remake
they did
as
Gothic. I
long
forgot they did Gothic. I
oh,
forgot
they
they
did
did Gothic.
Gothica around this time, you're
Yeah,
right, yes,
yeah,
which I really liked, but I didn't love. Something about it,
yeah,
it's more of a ultimately, it's like a dark, like, really dark, like, drama rather than a horror
yeah,
movie, but I appreciated it. It was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I would love for them to continue doing more stuff. I think I liked the whole aesthetic of these movies. 13 Ghosts for me, I know people love it. It's really fun to look at, but it's kind of a mess of a movie for me, you know?
It is
So
actually.
yeah,
From what I
right?
remember, it is a mess of a
And,
movie.
like, Matthew Lillard is just,
There's
like
some cool visuals and stuff in it, but like
right.
it like
And
yeah,
Matthew Lillard is just screaming off the top of his head, and I just, like so, there were some hits and misses, but overall, I was totally into this era. I'm okay with them coming back and either coming up with new stories or just
yeah,
modernizing the classics. Yeah. I love Vincent Price, so anything that can have that kind of DNA since he did so many of these movies back in the day, anything that can kind of modernize that, let's try it, I'm into it.
yeah. I'm into
I'll
it
do
too.
it,
There you go. Yeah,
right?
you resurrect them.
Let's do it.
So So this is part of the show where we give our score for the movie. I don't know if you thought about what you might want to give it.
Oh my gosh, I never think about it. I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right. Score, and I forget, Gase. How do you guys do 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5?
You can 1 out of 5, yeah, but you can do whatever
Like
you want.
1
But
to
usually
or
we do
1
one
to
out of five.
5, 1 to 10.
Yeah,
1 to 5. I think this is a really. I know we were picking it apart a bit lovingly. I think like I said, it's a really fun, atmospheric, spooky watch. Like, and that's sometimes that's all you need. Like,
yeah.
so I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 5.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna go. No, so I'm saying 3.5, but I really mean like closer to like it's like a 3.7, 3.8, somewhere there. I didn't want to quite give it a 4, but very high at 3.5. Like it's still it's fun. It's a fun movie. I had a really good time rewatching it. More so, I mean, more than even like the atmosphere and like look of the movie. I just love the cast. Like the cast was
I
just a lot
know.
of fun,
And
and
the
they gave him a lot of
dialogue
fun.
works.
Yeah, they gave him a lot of
Right.
fun things to do, and I love that like once you get everyone at the house, like the dialogue and everything between certain characters, especially between Famke Jensen and Jeffrey Rush, like it's already hitting as soon as they start talking. You're like, all right, we know what movie we're in now and who these people are, and like it's it's fun right away, and you can tell that they were having a lot of fun. Everyone was had a good time making it, and and I know we mentioned the haunting and stuff a lot, but that's the key difference. Like one clearly knew what movie it was. Like, hey, we're like this, we're making kind of a shocky kind of like horror movie remake, and it's not winning Oscars. That's not what we're trying to do, and like I think that's why House on Haunted Hill works better than The Haunting does.
It knows itself more. You're right.
Fully understands what it is. So
yep.
Yeah, high 3.5 for me. I had fun with it. I will be upgrading my DVD to a Blu-ray. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe 4 out of 5 is a little too kind. Maybe I'm more 3.5. But either way, I'm one of the people that give it a thumbs up rather than a thumbs down. So yeah, right around you for sure.
Yeah. I would like I should add it more into the spooky season rotation because I've been watching forever. So I mean, it sounds like maybe not so much October, like September, like when I'm starting out.
Getting starting to get into the spooky groove. Yeah, and then save the actually like scary stuff. Yeah, for later on. Yeah, totally. It's you know what? Also, I think there's some nudity. There's definitely some like violence and blood, but I think this is great for like teens. That want to
entry level horror movie.
I don't think it's too bad. So I saw it in theaters at 12 years old, so I loved it. So, I think this is great for anyone who maybe doesn't normally do like the hardcore horror. This is probably good for you, whether you're young or just, don't love the genre as much as like we do, so
yep, and definitely more accessible than the one we're going to talk about next, which probably kids shouldn't have seen when it came out because that's really gory and violent.
Oh boy, yeah,
and pretty realistic. And it's we're going to be talking about something completely different on the next episode that you guys can check out. But in a fun way. It's still a really solid movie, and I'm looking forward to like picking it apart a little bit. But thank you, Mark, for joining me for House on Haunted Hill.
Thank you. Absolutely.
We'll see you very, very shortly for talking about Saw from 2004. And another entry in our Tales of Horror series. When this comes out, this might be almost wrapping up our Tales of Horror series. I'm going to try to get it out close to when the anniversary is going to fall. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
But yeah, this has been fun to revisit. And
so fun. Thank you.
And it came from a really good year that we both love. 1999 was,
such a
solid,
year, nonstop.
Yep. As always, you can hear Back to the Blockbuster wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. Those are all great. But if you want to support Playlists, you can download their Playlist to do app and from the iOS store or the Google Play Store, whichever you prefer, depending on what your cellular device is. Or you can find us on YouTube as well and subscribe to our channel if you want to see our pretty faces as well too. It's a very busy time at Back to the Blockbuster, but we love being busy. And thank you, Mark, for doing this one. And thank you for jumping in on the next one very shortly here as soon as we end this call.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And actually, before we go, tell everyone about your podcast really quick and what you have coming up.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah. My podcast really is Release Date Rewind, where we talk about movies, much like how we are in this episode, that are turning a special milestone year for their anniversary. So let's see. For October, I have, like I mentioned, a really fun tie-in to Teaching Mrs. Tingle from 1999 with my friend Albert, who worked on the film with Kevin Williamson. It's a little like it's more about his career than
Yeah.
like just movies. So
Um,
you'll hear about his work on Dawson's Creek, and he currently and has worked for years with Kelly Ripa. So all the cool stuff they do together, podcasts and audiobooks and docuseries, all this great stuff. So interview with him, then Friends for its 30th anniversary. So something light and fun. We
Nice.
talk about like 10 of the most like highly rated episodes of the whole series. So that's a really fun episode. And then for Halloween, a Sleepy Hollow double feature with the Disney Sleepy Hollow short film from 1949, 75 years ago. And then, of course, the Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci
Oh
Sleepy
yeah.
Hollow that we all love from, again, 99. So that is that's October. And then November, you'll have to follow me on Instagram to see what we're going to talk about while I pick.
Nice.
Yeah.
That Sleepy Hollow 4K steelbook is arriving on
Oh,
Wednesday. I can't wait to check that out.
wow. Is it brand new? Like
Uh,
that's a new release or
yeah, I
has
guess
it
the
been out?
steelbook is. I guess that the
Okay.
4K's been out, and I didn't know they actually had a 4K of it,
Oh,
but
I might have to buy that.
it
Oh, that's
popped
gonna be
up, and
so
I was
pretty.
like, yeah, because that movie, from what I remember, is very beautiful. So it's been a while since I watched
Yeah,
that too. So that'll be a fun
beautiful.
one. And I'm low key jealous that you guys do teaching Mrs. Tingle. I tried to finagle Jackson in doing that one, and I
Yeah.
don't. I can only finagle so much teen stuff
Yeah,
from
you know
1999.
that's like that's like a you and me. That's not a Jackson. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
perfect at all, but
yeah.
it's such a fun comfort movie, and it's really fun hearing the making of it. I mean, Albert's still very close with Katie Holmes, so just really fun to hear like behind the scenes stuff. So
Nice.
check that out for sure.
Well, look out for that and more, and we will link all of Mark's information at the bottom of the episode. And like I said, you'll be hearing him very shortly on Saw to continue our Tales of
Yes.
Horror spooky season series. Until
Ooh.
next time, guys.